Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is my tea time chat all about finding your undertone. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This video is a bit of a spur of the moment one because there are always so many questions in my comment section from people. How did you find out about your undertone? How do you know what colors are looking good on you? And that's exactly why I wanted to film this video right now and let you know about my process behind it, but also some of the tips and tricks that are very much going around when it comes to finding your undertone. And hopefully this video can just be incredibly helpful, and then we can chat about undertones and how we do things ourselves in the comment section below. So I hope you'd like to join the conversation down there. For now, if you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences how I feel about what makeup looks great on me. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love eyeshadow palettes, Estee and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's content you're interested in, then I hope you'd like to consider subscribing. So yes, how do you find your undertone? I always say it in every single intro I do. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone. And that cool to neutral is incredibly important for finding your shade match in foundations, what blush looks right on you, how a lipstick might pull on your lips, what eyeshadow can be flattering, what clothing to wear. Before we get into the video and how I'm going to help you find your undertone, I do also want to talk a little bit about color analysis. Color analysis as a concept, I think, is a really helpful tool for people to find out what might look right on them. I have never had a color analysis done. However, I kind of did at the same time, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. But there's a reason why I'm not interested in color analysis and having them done. Like, I don't really think it makes a lot of sense to know whether you're like a light summer or a deep winter, and then start buying your things. And the reason why I don't really want to buy into the hype of color analysis at the minute is, on the one hand, because I see a lot of people using it as a justification to buy more stuff. As in, people say, like, I had a color analysis done. I ended up not having a single shade in my wardrobe that is right for me, so I had to go shopping. No. I think that the best way to figure out what works for you is what makes you happy. I don't need another human being on this planet to tell me, this is your best color, this is what you should wear. I mean, I've been filming myself doing videos where I slap on a bunch of different lipstick shades for years now. And if you go looking at comments, some people say, like, oh, I love the warm tones on you. Or, hey, you really look your best in purple. And I'm like, if I have to go with what everybody's been telling me, I would never ever know what my undertone was going to be. So for me, color analysis can be a helpful tool for sure, but I also feel that it's kind of like used and abused for, like, as a way to consume even more products, which is something I'm not really a fan of. And the way that color analysis is used on TikTok especially, I feel is not the way to go about it. In order to do a color analysis, if you really, really need help, I think it can be a helpful tool for sure, but it's not as if that's then the only thing you can wear. And I think that that's the thing that a lot of people forget, because there's so much more to making things look right to you, right on you, than going for whatever are supposed to be your best colors. I wear whatever I like, whatever makes me feel good. Sure, there are colors that don't necessarily work for me that I like wearing as well. But if it makes me feel good, then I'm still going to wear it. And I think that when it comes to color analysis, it doesn't have to be very informative to, like, undertones when you shop for foundations or concealers or things like that, I feel. So a color analysis, I think, can be very indicative of, like, your overall color story, but it doesn't mean that then that's the only shade of pink lipstick you can ever wear. Because here's the thing with colors. Your undertone and whatever colors look best on you aren't the only things that are going to work for you, because colors need to contrast. And in order for a color to work on you, you could just go for the opposite color to have that somewhere in your look that day, and you can still pull it off. If you mix the colors that don't work with colors that do work, you're fine. If mint green isn't your color, but you buy it as a skirt, you can still wear that color if it makes you happy. If it's up near your face, it might drain you a little bit, but then maybe you put on a bright purple lipstick to contrast it, and it can actually work. And that's the way I go about things. And it's something that I've learned from Trini, from the Trini London channel here on YouTube. She was also a TV presenter in the past about, I think that show was called like What Not to Wear or something. Like if you go back to it, it's like incredibly annoying. But what Trini does a lot in her styling videos is that she will say like, this aqua color isn't like the best color for me to wear, but then she shows you that because she puts on a contrasting lipstick shade, she can get away with it. Or she'll put on an earring, or she'll pair it with like a really beautiful necklace to make it work. So whatever works on you isn't just the colors of your season, it's also how you mix and match things. And I feel that color analysis very much leaves that part out. Very often a color analysis is done by someone making you sit in front of natural lighting. They pull your hair back, you're makeupless, and you're very often people like have this like white base on because white is very light reflecting. If you were to already change that white base to a black base, things are going to look different. And very often when it comes to makeup, I remember Wayne Goss saying this when he was working on his very first studio setup. He went for a black background because then the colors look more vibrant. So I already feel that part of that color analysis system doesn't quite work to showing best colors, because black is a lot better as a base for showing best colors than white is. Because white just reflects a lot of light, and it can actually drain your features a lot more for that reason than when you would have a black base on. So unless a color analysis is done with a white and a black background, it's not going to give you any information whatsoever. Another reason why I'm not a fan of color analysis is because they make you tie your hair back. And I am someone who's just learned through trial and error that the day I tie my hair out of my face, away from my face, or the day I wear my hair down, are days I can just get away with other things. It just is. Because your hair does so much for your features. And this is something that I learned from having different hair colors when I was in my teens and 20s. I've pretty much stayed close to my natural blonde hair. This is colored, but you can see my natural hair color here at the top. It's just a little bit darker because it's been winter and then my hair grows out. But in the summertime, this is pretty much what my hair color goes to, which is why I've had it colored, because if it happens naturally, the process becomes very splotchy and just like bits and pieces here and there. So I had my hair colored a couple of times to make sure it was a little bit more even, but I've stayed closer to my natural hair color so far, at least in recent years. But I've had red hair, I've had reddish purple, like aubergine colored hair for a while as well. I had deep chocolate brown hair. I went super blonde one year. I've had a lot of the colors that are still within the natural hair color spectrum. And I just noticed that when my hair was red, I couldn't pull off certain things in my wardrobe anymore. Whereas if my hair was blonde, I could get away with a lot more. So especially if you're someone who colors your hair color is just going to influence what looks right on you so much. And that's another thing with whenever people do color analysis, a color analysis, hair is not part of the equation, whereas it's a really, really important part of your look, because you don't live your day-to-day life every single day with your hair out of your face if you've got long hair. So that's why these things don't really quite make sense to me, and that's why I feel that just finding your best color isn't going to give you enough information to what looks right on you, especially makeup-wise. Because if once you start wearing makeup, you can change your entire look. If a shirt you're wearing isn't your best color, because it drains you, or maybe it makes the redness in your face stand out, you slap on a really good foundation with a bit of concealer and a full makeup look, and you, mark my words, you will be able to pull that not so great color off just a little bit better, because maybe you've done something with your makeup that actually makes it work. So that's why I feel color analysis as such can be a helpful tool, but no more than that, and it's not going to tell you anything about what foundation to shop for. So I know sometimes the service includes that, but just knowing your color season isn't going to give you that information. So how do you tell your undertone? How do you find out what makeup looks right on you? So for me, as I've already mentioned, it's very much been trial and error. It's been going through things and trying things on, and especially because I make content and I have tried so many lipstick ranges, I have just really been able to find out what works for me. And when it comes to undertone and figuring that out, in fact, I've had so many people tell me that I have a warm undertone. I'm not. I'm a neutral undertone, and neutral undertones are lucky that they can get away with warm tones and cool tones, no matter the season you are. I just prefer cooler tones on myself. I'll go for the blue toned red over the orange toned red any time of day. I will go for that cooler gray leaning taupe over a super spicy orange any time of day, because I just feel it works best with my features. And with your features, there's a lot of things that go into it. So if we just go product by product, I can let you know how I try to figure things out. And I'm gonna leave the color products for last, because I feel that with your base products, it's a lot more important to get the undertone right, because then you can have a little bit more fun with your colorful products if you get that right. And what very often happens, especially within makeup, is that so many makeup lines pull warm. A lot of makeup in the foundation, concealer, powder ranges have a yellow undertone. However, if your skin isn't very yellow toned, it could be that things look even orange or green, or whatever undertone you might have. It's just going to clash too much if the yellow doesn't work for you, especially with foundation, especially where you stop wearing your foundation. So very often what you'll see is that a foundation will look okay here if it's just this, but it won't translate well here. So what you need to look for when you shop for foundation and you're looking for your undertone is how things match. And I like to go here. I don't have much of a jawline. It's pretty much like straight down into my neck. So if my foundation doesn't match my neck, it looks terrible. But I've got redness in the middle of my face. Yeah? So very often when I get matched in store, someone will look at me straight ahead, see the redness, and give me a darker, more yellow tone, because yellow cancels out the redness, than what I actually need. So if I match myself to down here, I've got some sun coming in, so it looks a little warmer tone that way. But this is the northern facing side of my window, so you can see a little bit better here. So I like matching it to my neck here. This needs to match. It needs to be a seamless blend going into my neck here. And then what I find important is if I've done all of my foundation and I look straight ahead, that this matches here. And you'll see I go very, very pink very, very easily. This is a way to tell that you have a pink undertone, or a cooler undertone is if you have pretty pinkish red splotches really easily. My skin has it very easily because I have sensitive skin, and my skin just looks a little bit more pinky toned rather than yellow toned whenever it has any form of discoloration. It just does. That's another reason why I know that I have a cooler leaning undertone. However, another way to tell, this is the classic, is to look at your veins. Do your veins look blue, yellow, or green? Very often, if you have a warmer undertone, they tend to pull a little bit more green. And if you have a cooler undertone, they look more blue toned. On me, my veins, they're very blue. They're incredibly blue. Yeah, they're almost purple looking. Which is why I know I have a cool undertone. Does gold jewelry suit you, or does silver jewelry suit you? I prefer silver on myself because it goes better with my undertone. If I wear especially a very yellow tone gold, it just clashes weirdly with what I'm wearing. So those are things that you can very easily like test out and try to see what looks right on you, what makes you look brighter, what works best. So for foundation, I feel you really need to look at your neck more so than at what looks right when you look face ahead in a mirror or whatever. That's a mistake I very often see people making, and whenever I go into store and people try to match me and they don't do it here, I already know that this is going to be like a terrible purchase. And you can actually test this out if you're on TikTok. There is a filter from Kosas when they release some more shades in their revealer concealer that there was like neutral, cool, warm, and olive, and you could see within like the little category what it might be. So I took some screenshots actually, because some people have been thinking that I might be an olive undertone. I've been called olive, warm, cool, like I've been called everything under the sun just based on videos that I post. And I actually think that the cool and neutral shades just look better on me. The olive ones are a little bit too green and the warm tones are far too yellow. So that doesn't quite work. In this case, because it's the shade ranges from Kosas, the cool shades would be too light for me in the very fairest section. So I think actually for me, the one that looks best is the cool from the slightly one step up from the super light ones. That's the perfect match. Or the neutral from the very light ones. Those I think are the best looking on me. And this is why I always say I am cool to neutral in my videos, because I can get away with a cool tone, but I have also tried cool tone products that are far too cool toned for me, that just look very, very off. And that's why I like to think of myself more so as a smack in the middle, neutral toned, undertone person who looks better if a shade pulls more pink on them, rather than something that leans more yellow or green, like the warm and the olive undertone. So that's why I say cool to neutral, because within some foundation ranges, I can get away with the cool tone, but with some foundation ranges, it doesn't quite work, and I need a little bit more yellow in there to make it work. So what I look for when I shop for a foundation is peachy pinks. That's sort of like the shade I go for, is a peachy pink. If it looks peachy pink on the back of my hand, I'm like, okay. And if it then like blends away quite easily on the back of my hand, I'm like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. That's a way to tell your undertone, is to look for certain clues in your features, and especially with foundation, to swatch it down your neck. And then seeing how that blends. That usually works. And with foundation, it's just best if you go in store, if you have the ability to. Another thing with concealer, however, because I tend to use concealer mainly on the areas of my face that have a little bit more redness, or here where I have some blueness going on, I tend to not like shades that are a perfect match here. So my concealer shades are a little bit deeper. I've stepped away from the super highlighty kind of concealer, because for me to have a concealer that does the concealing I need it to do, without needing like an extra corrector and doing all that, like having it just be a one-stop shop, I like to go for something that's a little bit deeper than my foundation shade, like 1 or 2 steps up, and to have it have a slightly yellow undertone sometimes. So I don't necessarily need my concealer to be pink as well, because I have the redness, and if I want to counteract the redness, then the concealer needs to blend into my foundation and blend into, like cover the redness at the same time. And I feel over time, I have learned that you get slightly better coverage if a shade is one shade up in concealer and foundation than when it's like your perfect shade match. So very often going for a slightly deeper shade, you get better coverage. With a concealer, I'm looking for coverage. With foundation, I just want to even up my skin. It's why I go for lighter coverage foundations as well. Some people like want full coverage because I need the coverage. And I'm like, just go light layers and then maybe use a concealer and do a bit of pinpoint concealing, or like making sure that's a really good mix, usually works a lot better. So yeah, for me, it's just this area. It's like a little bit red down my nose, my cheeks, and my chin, and then this has some darkness, and that's what I use the concealer for. So that's why my concealer shade can be a little bit different from my foundation shade, which is why I never just blatantly buy the same shade in a concealer that I'm also in the foundation, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. So when it comes to finding the shade you need in a product, it's not just your undertone that's important. It's also what do you want to get out of a product that goes into it. So with a concealer, as I've mentioned, I'm just looking for other things than when I'm using a foundation. And that's why I feel I just tend to go for something slightly differently there. So that's another thing that I feel you may want to figure out for yourself is, once you know your undertone, also look at, but what do I want from the product? Because even though something can fit your undertone, if you don't get out of the product what you want to get out of it, which is actually something I've heard a lot of people talking about on TikTok, how light foundation shades don't give coverage. Like, no, because the coverage thing you can also get out of other products. You don't need a foundation to get coverage. So what do you want to get out of it? And that's what I feel should go into your shade selection as well. It's not just your undertone, it's also what you want something to do. If you buy a foundation shade that is a slightly, like a shade too dark for you, like I normally have on, I correct it with bronzer. I put a lot of bronzer down my neck to make that work. So you can get away with it, but you do need to like figure out ways to then make the product work as well. So everything has to be a synergy. Everything has to work together. Powder, I tend to not really use, like a lot of the powders I use have a slightly yellow undertone, again, because the only areas of my face that I like to powder are the areas where I apply concealer. I only put a little bit of powder on my forehead, here, down my nose, down the sides of my nose, and on my chin. I don't powder anywhere else. So that's why I don't need a powder that's translucent or that matches my foundation shade perfectly, because I don't use powder in a very like overall kind of way. I just apply powder in the areas where I need it, and then I like it to have that sort of like more glowy, like finishing powder kind of thing. I don't want to set my makeup into place because my dry skin doesn't need it. In fact, I've been going pretty much powderless and using less and less and less powder, especially in the past year. I used to like use a big fluffy powder brush to apply my powder and like go over all of those areas of my face. And now I use like a brush that is this big to just get those areas to powder those, and I don't need any other powder. So I've been using less and less and less powder actually. And of course this is different for everyone. But if you have very oily skin, then I also think you need to do something about like your primer and your skincare routine, more so to get longevity out of your makeup than your powder does. I feel that powder can, it's a great last step, but I don't feel a powder necessarily makes makeup last. It's the thing you apply before you do any of the makeup that's gonna make your makeup last all day. So if you're looking for longevity in makeup, again, there's a different technique in that for sure. So powder for me, I don't really pay attention to. It's just, if it's light enough for me, I'm happy. Which brings me to color products, because within makeup, of course, foundation and concealer are the only base products that have a tint to them that you're gonna use. I'm currently doing a monthly video series where I'm doing my top 10 favorite products for fair skin with a cool undertone. For bronzer, I do very much like my bronzer to have a fairly neutral undertone. If they're too warm tone, it's gonna look very orange on me. But I very early on learned that a yellow tone bronzer is perfect for my complexion. Some people have said, like, what about pink tone bronzers? But that to me, like I've tried several, but I feel it looks kind of off because that's not the kind of way to warm up my face. it doesn't quite work with my hair color, especially. So especially if I wear my hair down, I feel I need that slight bit of warmth to the bronzer for it to really work. So that's why I tend to prefer a yellow tone bronzer. Again, this has been trial and error and years of trying makeup for this to really click in my head, and that's how I know what I'm looking for. For blush, and this was something that was quite surprising to me because I love a cool tone blush on myself, especially in the winter time. I tend to go super pale around this time of year. My skin hasn't seen sunlight for too long, and I just go paler and paler and paler, where I actually reach the point where some of my palest foundations start to look a little off. So yeah, I tend to definitely change color throughout the year, you could say. My undertone doesn't change though. The depth of my skin tone does change a little bit. But I just prefer when I'm at my super duper palest level of the year, that's when I like to go for a cool tone blush. But for most of the year, I like my blushes to have a little bit more warmth. I love a peach on myself, so that's why I think blush is such a large category in my makeup collection, because I like so many different things on myself. And I tend to use the blush shade that I feel goes best with the rest of the makeup that I want to wear. So bronzer and highlighter, I don't really care for. Like there I have a set favorite, you could say, when it comes to what I like undertone wise. With highlighter, it's a peach toned highlighter because it has both the warmth and the cool tone, so it can go with everything, I feel. But with blush, I tend to use it to tie the entire look together. So for blush, I tend to choose a blush that will go with the eye look I'm wearing that day. So if my eye look is super cool toned, and I'm, for instance, wearing quite a warm tone top, I might choose a blush color that's a little bit in between so that it's still balanced, you could say. And I feel similarly about lipsticks, actually. With lipstick, I really, really feel I can, like, pull the whole thing together, which is why I always leave lipstick for the final bit. And then very often, as I'm, like, looking at myself in the mirror when I've done the rest of my makeup, that's when I decide this is the lipstick I'm going for. So today, for instance, I'm wearing a super basic eye look, just a little hint of shimmer, but I'm wearing quite a bold color on my body. So I knew that if I were to go for too nude of a lip, it wouldn't work. But if the color is too bold, it might not look right with this teal shade. So I ended up going for this rosy, deeper mauve toned sort of lipstick color to not have it be too much of a contrast with this eyeshadow, but to tie the look together with this top for sure. And blush wise, I'm wearing a blush that's a mix of a warm and a cool tone, again to tie everything together. I hope I'm making sense. And that brings me to my love for all things cool tones, because when it comes to cool tones, I mainly love it for eyeshadow. I just feel, because I've got a darker brow and brown eyes, but my skin is very light, and I do have some warmth in my hair, I feel that the minute I put on warm-toned eyeshadow, everything starts looking like I've made a lot of effort. Like, it's very glam, very quickly. Like, if I want to go instant glam, all I need to do is a bronze smoky eye. Like, a bronze eye, I remember this was how I felt about the Too Faced chocolate bar, the original Naked palette, like those kind of palettes. It looked incredibly made up to me because there was just something, because I have the darker eyes and then the warmer tones in my hair, it just contrasted too much with my skin tone, I felt. So that's how I discovered that I prefer cooler toned eyeshadows, but I like them to have, like, again, a mix between warm and cool for sure. If things pull too gray, then I end up not liking them as well. So then it kind of goes towards, like, too much cool tones, you could say, but I do prefer cooler toned eyeshadows on myself for that reason. I feel that it brings my features alive the best way, it makes me look awake, it makes my brows not too heavy because I've got pretty deep set eyes, so my brow comes down quite low. I just had my eyebrows done the other day, so now it looks again like I've got tons of lid space, but actually this is my brow bone. Like, this is like the orbital bone right here. Like, this is bone. I have very little lid space. So I just feel that when I use cooler tones on myself, that this area looks brighter, more alive, and it just works a lot better for me that way. And then especially if I look like one of my favorite looks to do is like a taupe eye, peach on the cheeks, and then just a really nice blue tone red lip. That's like my perfect look, especially if my hair is down. It makes me feel like $1,000,000. And that's why I said also at the start of this video, you need to figure out not just what other people say looks right on you, but what you feel great in. If you look in the mirror and you go, wow, I look great today, that's the feeling you want. And that is something that nobody can teach you. You can teach yourself. That's the only person who can sit down, test makeup, and just feel your best. And then you can like pretty much wipe everything, every color analysis, every undertone match, you can throw it out the window. But it's trial and error. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think that that's why color analysis is such an popular thing to do, because it feels like it's going to be a shortcut, but it's not. It's an investment you're going to have to make. You're going to have to go into stores and swatch things and tell the sales associate, no, I want that darker shade, or no, I want that lighter shade, and being very comfortable with yourself in order to find the things that work for you. But if you're insecure about what colors look right on you and you want someone to tell you what to do, then maybe a color analysis can be helpful. But it's you playing with things. I've mentioned it already in this video. It's because I've tested every shade of lipstick, Bullet Lipstick by Lisa Eldridge, that I've done all of the lip swatches with different Catrice collections and Essence collections and so many lipstick collections over the years, that I know exactly what I like on myself. That has really taught me, especially with lipsticks actually, that also like the natural color of your lips is incredibly important to, that will influence how a lipstick looks on you as well, not just your skin tone. Because I have some of the Lisa Eldridge lipsticks that they say are great for pale people and cool undertoned, and then I put it on and I'm like, looks a bit warm on me, and it's because I got purple lips, essentially. Like my lips have a pretty bluish purple undertone. Another way how I know that I have a cool undertone so yeah, my skin is just pretty cool toned, but because of other features I've got going on, the darker eyes, the darker brow, the brassiness in my hair, I can get away with warm tones. There is a reason why I can wear so many different things and it will look right on me. And I do feel lucky that way because I can pull off so many different shades. It's just whatever I'm in the mood for, I can slap on. And that's why I also know that my overall coloring is more neutral. But that's not because of my skin tone. It's not because of the undertone in my skin that I feel I can get away with so many other things. I look great in a red outfit. I feel great in a red outfit, but then I very often will not wear a red lipstick with it because then I feel it's too much. You know, it's all about balance. It also depends on the day sometimes. There are days where I feel not that great and then I don't want to or maybe it is a day where I feel crappy and I will wear my best shades. Like instant happiness to me is a bright red lipstick. So it's also, I feel that colors can be so powerful and what we wear. So I definitely put a lot of thought into it, as you can tell. I have some videos. I'll try to see if I can find them. I did a video, I think on this channel. I think I did it on this channel where I talked about like all of the different colors in my wardrobe because I saw somebody else doing this. Like these are my best colors and I'm only buying clothes in this color scheme. And I just thought of like what colors I like to wear best. And I found out that my color scheme, fashion-wise, is sort of like made up of 3 sections. I've got the colors I wear the most or that I feel the best in. Then I have the secondary colors that I use to contrast those shades or that I feel are complementary to them. And then I have the one-offs, the sprinkle of joy, if you want, the razzle dazzle. And those are not necessarily going to be my best shades, but they are shades that make me happy. I don't look great in a bright yellow. Do I have bright yellow in my wardrobe? You betcha, because if I put on that bright yellow summer dress, it's instant happiness. It just clicks for me. Is it my best shade? No. It just isn't. And that's the way I like to go about my life. I just like wearing what I like. I did another video actually on my other channel the other week where I tried on all of my sweaters. So for people who are still doubting everything I've just told you, you need to watch that video, because I tried on all of my sweaters without makeup on that day in front of a north-facing video during the daytime. So you can see exactly what undertone I have, because guess what? I have a orange tone sweater and a blue tone sweater. You can see exactly which one looks better on me. You could watch any of my lip swatch videos to also figure out like what I actually like wearing and what looks right on me as well. So yeah, and don't forget, I'm filming a video on a camera, and whenever I film makeup videos, I'm in my other room, and I've mentioned this so many times before, but lighting and whatever is in your surroundings is incredibly important. I've mentioned so many times, I know why people think I'm olive toned when they watch my videos. And that's because these videos, I'm looking at it right now, I've got a green wall right there. There's a huge tree right here, which in the springtime, once it has leaves, makes all of my videos have a green cast. They just do. I can't take that tree away. I'm not gonna paint my wall another color because I like that color green, and I'm not gonna make my entire home sterile just so I can look like not olive toned in my videos. I'm not gonna do it. I'm really not. I've got a lot of plants in my house as well, so that's a lot of greenery too. So yeah, if I've ever looked green to you in a video, that's probably why. So yeah, there's just a lot more that goes into color analysis and finding your undertone than you might think. If you've ever come home, and I know we all have had this, if you've ever bought a product in store, you come home and you feel it looks different, it's because stores have different lighting. I say this all the time. If you want to know what something looks like on your skin, you need to go outside. Shop during the day and go outside to see what it actually looks like on the back of your hand so you can see the undertone. Especially if you're buying a foundation in store and they swatch it the right way, go outside with the mirror to see if you can get away with it. And yes, that sometimes means that I buy a shade that is a hair too dark for me, but that has the right undertone, MAC Face and Body in N1 anyone, rather than the shade that is light enough for me, C1 in that foundation, but that has the wrong undertone. I can change the depth by adding a different color, by adding a bit of white, or by putting on bronzer. I can change that. I cannot change the undertone of a product unless you start blending with like correctors or something like that. That's why the blue correctors thing is like really hip and happening right now, but I don't have time for that in the morning. I just need something to look right. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to share with you about undertones, how I find mine, how I figured things out. It's just been a lot of trial and error. The fact that I do film videos and that I've tried on so many different shades of lipstick, and that I've always been a bit of a weirdo who just likes to think about what colors look right on me and what things go together in my wardrobe. Yeah, I just like wearing a lot of different things because of that. And then you learn. You live and you learn. So yeah, if you can, maybe not with your own wardrobe, because mine is massive, I know. Maybe just take yourself out for a shopping spree and try on things that you've never tried before. Like go to a vintage sale. I think that's a great way. And that's just how I like to shop for things. And then if I think, yeah, I like that. I love this dress that I have from Pull & Bear, which is like all browns. Like it looks brown from a distance, but it has like stripes in different colors. And together they just blend together on your, like the way you look at it, and it looks brown. It's not my best color. But then I like put my suede jacket with it, and then I got my hair down, and then I put on like a nice lipstick, and I just feel it works. So yeah, wear what makes you happy, I think, is the message, the main message. Sure, there are tricks to find what products look right on you, what undertone you might be, but it's a lot of trial and error. It's not a color analysis, which is incredibly expensive to do, and it's going to give you a lot of colorful shades, but it very rarely focuses on like those like neutrally things and undertones in your skin. I very rarely see people talking about like how that makes them look great in makeup and stuff, like for foundation shopping and stuff. So I just feel that things need to work together, and that's what I aim to do. And even if a color isn't right for me, I'll make it work. I'll make it work. If this item brings me joy, I sound like Marie Kondo, but if something makes me happy, then that's what I'm going to focus on. And I'm going to focus on the things that make me happy. I don't care if it looks the best ever on me. I just don't. So I do think that, I hope that were some helpful tips in here for you as well. But yeah, look at how things come together. I think that that's the most important thing. It's very much about how things come together and not just what things look like with your hair tied back. Maybe that one stunning dress you have, maybe you should wear it with your hair down sometime. If you're someone, especially if you're someone who always wears their hair up, change it just for a laugh. Take an hour somewhere in your week and just play. And you'll find out what makes you feel great. And that's the way to go about it. If it makes you happy, then you're happy. And I think that that's the most important bit. So that's everything I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so very much for joining me with this tea time chat. Yes, it's back. I didn't stop doing it. Don't worry, don't worry. I had to skip it a couple of times because I ran out of time to film videos, essentially. That's what happened. But yeah, this is a video series that I do also love filming videos for, so it's definitely still here. So let me know in a comment down below how you figured out your undertone and how you like going about things. Do you agree with me? Maybe you completely disagree with me. That's also fine. We're here to have a conversation, and let's just keep that discussion rolling in the comments. So I will be there to reply to you very, very soon as well. I always try to reply to the comments that are posted on videos within like the first 24 hours of it going live. After that, I lose track of things. But yeah, the day the video goes live, I like to leave a comment to everyone who's posted on that video. So thank you so very much for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please stay tuned because I do make 4 videos over on this channel every single week. There is 1 video a week over on the second channel, and I do post daily over on my blog. So you never have to miss me. You can join me wherever you like every single day. So thank you so very much for being here, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.